Thanks for tuning in to CPA Life Rewind, where today we look back at John Randolph's conversation with Chris Vanover, the founder of CPAClub, formerly AuditClub. Chris has been at the forefront of progress in providing flexible access to accounting expertise to firms, and he's championed a 4-day week and many other initiatives to look after CPAClub's team members. Welcome to CPA Life Rewind.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of the CPA Life podcast, where we spend time talking to firm leaders and industry insiders who have really had enough of the old school CPA firm mindset, and they're doing everything that they can to build a more modern-minded, future-focused firm for today's accounting professionals. And we've spent a lot of time over the last year talking to firm leaders who are predominantly on the tax and the client accounting services, outsourced CFO services side of the house. But today we're going to mix things up a little bit, and we are going to spend some time digging into what Chris Vanover and the rest of his leadership team at AuditClub have been doing within their firm to bring value to a piece of that business, just like every other segment of the industry that's hurting for exceptional talent. So Chris, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for the invite. Happy to be here.
We're going to dig into a lot of what AuditClub is about and some of the unique ways that you guys are not only building a solutions-oriented business where people can not only build a great career, but have a life outside of the office and not have to dedicate 80 hours a week into their career. But one of the things that we typically do when we kind of kick off the show is spend some time talking about where you've come from, because I'm always intrigued to hear people's stories. So, how folks got from point A to point B in their career. And in your case, running AuditClub, addressing some of the major gaps that you guys are attacking. But tell me a little bit about where you came from and how you have ended up where you are today.
Yeah, so I actually started my career about 20 plus years ago with PwC in their audit practice. Worked my way up the ranks up to senior associate and then manager. And then as a manager, actually had an opportunity to do what they call a distinctive experience and relocated up to San Jose and helped PwC actually design, at the time, their proprietary internal software platform that they were using for their audits.
Okay.
That then spawned some other national opportunities with PwC, but I always maintained a footprint in client service. And then I took another opportunity to work at the regulator, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, for a few years. Rebounded back into PwC, into their chief auditor network, which is primarily a localized version of the national office, helping engagement teams, sort through methodology questions, just audit support questions, training, transformation, and audit quality initiatives. Then I actually was an audit partner overseeing quality control for a pretty large regional firm. So all of that paved the way for me, and we launched AuditClub a few years ago with the real intent to help make accounting and auditing better across the U.S., knowing full and well that there were a lot of firms at the local and regional level that didn't necessarily have access to talent that I had and or my partners and employees have, and nor did they necessarily need it on a full-time basis. So we just fractionalized the concept, and what became of that was AuditClub.
So how long now has it been a full-time business endeavor, stepping away from the other parts of your career that you were involved with?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years full-time and full throttle. We went through a little bit of a rebrand about a year and a half or so ago and rebranded as AuditClub, and that's when we really presented the unique subscription offering out to the market for CPA firms to ultimately subscribe to. So it hasn't been that long, but we've had a lot of great success and a lot of innovations along the way already.
Well, as we talked about, the first time that you and I connected, I stumbled across you guys and then started doing a little research, and you guys have got a pretty strong name in the marketplace and built in a real short period of time a pretty good reputation. So tell everybody, if you can, kind of your elevator pitch. Tell us, what is AuditClub?
Yeah, so AuditClub is unique in that we are actually backed by a licensed accountancy corporation, but unlike most CPA firms, we actually serve as an onshore audit service center for CPA firms. So CPA firms basically come to us as an onshore talent solution. They become a member of AuditClub, and then they basically subscribe to our access passes that gives them fractional flexibility, basically week to week, and help them, whether it's with audit work paper preparation, audit work paper review, all the way down from associate level work, all the way up to partner level work. And that could be things like serving as an engagement quality control reviewer. It could be something like actually helping them remediate a PCOB inspection. or maybe they're actually coming out of a peer review and they have a corrective action plan to deal with. So it's all that strategic thinking as well as the general blocking and tackling that AuditClub is trying to solve for. Because as you know, a lot of these firms just don't have access to the talent these days, given the talent war.
Absolutely. So when you look at the client base today of AuditClub and kind of where you guys want to take things in the future, what does a stereotypical client look like that kind of fits into, hey, this is our avatar. This is what fits with who we are and where we hit home runs.
Yeah, and I'll go back to our mission is to make accounting and auditing better. So we intentionally didn't want to price ourselves out of the market. We wanted to make ourselves available to any CPA firm, whether it's a sole prop or a top 10 firm, because our skills are transferable across the industry. So as an example, we may very well be supporting a top 10 firm for a number of weeks throughout the year. But on the flip side, we actually just took about a month or so ago, we're helping a sole proprietor who didn't necessarily have that audit and assurance expertise, but their client had some needs. So how do we help elevate them to be able to deliver more assurance related services? And that's where theoretically she just engaged with us for a couple of week-to-week subscription passes and was able to get that solution she was looking for. So it spans the gamut, and that's, again, going back to the mission.
So talk to me a little bit about the subscription model, the pricing that you guys, not necessarily the numbers, but just what does that look like? Because when most people start talking about subscription model, you're talking about a year, 2 year, or ongoing kind of subscription based mindset, because that's what most tax, outsourced accounting, CFO advisory firms are doing with their clients. But you just said something that I caught, and that was this sole proprietor you're talking about. She purchased a couple of weeks of a pass to be able to work with you guys to get that stuff taken care of. So how do you guys go about pricing your business to support the needs of those different clients?
Yeah, so it's a good question. At the end of the day, we are basically allowing CPA firms to subscribe to have access to our knowledge. Okay, and that knowledge comes in the form of either what we call our Chiefs passes, which is traditionally that manager and or above level resource, partner level resource. And we have crew passes, which are more of that traditional associate and senior associate level resource. So what we're giving them is what we found is CPA firms, even they're great at solving problems for their clients, they are not necessarily equipped to understand when and how much they need somebody during the year. And so we said, all right, well, we're going to make this super easy for you guys and just go with a weekly subscription model where they basically make that decision every week to actually subscribe or not subscribe. So they can, for as example, 1 week they may say, look, I need some support with financial statement reviews. And so they say, okay, let me get a Chiefs pass for that particular week. The next week they may say, you know what, there's really nothing in my queue right now. My client's not quite ready. So I'm going to pause my subscription. And then the week after, they may say, you know what, I need an associate to come in here and actually help prepare some of these work papers. And I'd really love it if actually one of your chiefs could help and provide supervision review for that environment that week. So they have the flexibility to adapt the passes to their needs on a week-to-week basis, which again is huge because at the end of the day, they can control the spend because it's a flat fee investment each week based on the resources that they're engaging with. And they actually have talent to incredible resources that historically they may have to wait 3 to 6 months to find if they can even find it in their local marketplace these days.
Absolutely.
So again, just trying to hit it on a bunch of different angles, but make it super simple for them.
And it sounds like the value to them also is, and not knocking, outsourced firms that are overseas, but being able to manage the quality of what's being done because it's being done wherever that person is sitting that's handling that project for them, correct?
Yeah, it's all onshore, and that's again an intentional play that we had that we think separates us from other outsourcing arrangements. We are very much a concierge type approach. So we want to develop a long-lasting relationship with all of our members, aka the CPA firms. All of our people here are onshore licensed CPAs. They're coming out of the big four and or even top 10 firms that have a breadth of experience that these folks can tap into in any given week to get solutions. And unlike most, even CPA firms and even the outsourcing firms, it is not a billable hour concept for us. It's strictly, you have access to our people. We contractually say that access is between the hours of, call it generally 9 to 5. And during that period, we're going to do our part to make sure that we're giving you the solutions you're looking for. Now, we can't guarantee it because we never know exactly what the request might be. But again, we're going to let them decide whether there was value, because at the end of the day, if they don't like what we're doing, they can turn off the subscription and cancel it next week, and there's no harm, no foul.
Right. Which is, as you said, it allows them a lot of freedom to not have to commit dollars long term without understanding what their needs going to be on a consistent basis.
That's right. Yeah, so we have, there's variability in our passes to where if they want to be a different level member tier, so we have an A-list concept, which is provide some additional privileges, and think of that akin to getting on a United flight. Where do you sit in terms of priority boarding, right? Where are you sitting on the plane?
Yep.
Are your bags being charged for, or are they not? Are you sitting by the lavatory? Are you in first class? It's that same kind of concept, and just saying, look, you subscribe to us, you choose what level membership you're comfortable with, and then ultimately that's going to afford you certain privileges. But at the end of the day, we hope that you're getting out of this peace of mind, convenience, and the quality that you're looking for.
That's a great point. I kind of chuckle when you're using that analogy because I posted something on LinkedIn earlier this week talking about some things in our business on the recruiting and talent acquisition side that the analogy I use, which probably is a little bit more nerve-wracking to people, is Spirit Airlines, not United Airlines. There's a lot of things that we deal with in business that as a business owner, you just take lock, stock, and barrel, everything that's there. But the ability to pick and choose, like you say, where do you want to sit? How do you want to be serviced? How do you want it to be delivered to you is a nice piece of flexibility when someone's trying to figure out, hey, what work do we have come down the pipeline? You made a comment earlier. Sometimes CPA firm owners aren't the best at planning their work. How do you guys manage resources if this is going week to week and understanding what is the capacity and what is the work coming into your people?
Yeah, I wish we were a Netflix and could just put it out there to everybody. But unfortunately, like every other organization, we're capacity constrained by the people we have. So what we do is actually, it's week-to-week subscriptions, but we have a membership tier model. So obviously our A-list members have first priority on all passes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just go down the rank. And obviously we say, when you're making your subscription selection, just know that it's a subscription request. Now, most of the time we're going to be able to honor that request, but we do consciously limit the number of passes that we actually will sell to any subscriber in a given week because we don't want to get overextended. And at the end of the day, that's going to be reflected in our membership satisfaction score.
Right.
Right now, we're sitting at a 9.7 out of 10. We've got 5 out of 5 on Google because inherently we put a pressure on ourselves. If we're not delivering solutions, then again, they can cancel the subscription.
Right.
So again, it's just that peace of mind and convenience and making sure that their experience is an A+ experience in their mind.
So what is the makeup of staff right now with you guys, number one? And number two, when you look at your FTEs, are those W-2 resources? Are they contract resources? How do you guys go about building out your organization?
Yeah, so we've been very cautious and strategic in our growth strategy. And I think, again, that's just me being the leader of the firm at the end of the day and wanting to make sure we don't get out over our skis. We hire people based on vertical expertise, and they are all W-2 employees of AuditClub.
Okay.
And part of the reason that we're able to identify and attract talent is because of our access-based model. Another unique nuance to us is that it's not just about the member experience, it's also about our internal people experience. And so because of our access-based model, we were able to pivot to a 4-day year-round work week. Well, that resonates pretty well with a lot of the talent out there looking to get out of the 80-hour work weeks that you mentioned earlier. So, basically we hire vertical expertise. And if we can't necessarily fulfill a particular request that a firm has, well, our contracts are all encompassing. So we're going to try to find some way to deliver you value and solutions. Now, if you come to us and say, hey, look, I have this very unique specific area, can you help with? We maybe just be honest and say, look, we are not the right provider for you at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, we will be, but we can't guarantee that we know everything. And that's just a dangerous world to live in if you assume that.
Let me say something just real quick for those that are listening that heard you say 4-day work week, that are sitting there going, okay, number one, there's no way. No, that doesn't happen. Or two, yeah, that's a great sales pitch, but does it really honestly happen? To give some validity to that, I sent you an email on Friday, and
That's right.
I was out of the office when I sent the email. I was working, kind of like we all do. We look at emails, and something came up, and I put together an email. I sent it to you on Friday, and literally within 30 seconds, I get a response, but it's an auto response. I want to read that because I thought it was pretty cool, and it lent itself to a lot of credibility to what you and I had talked about and what you're saying now. It said, automatic reply, and then the subject line, thank you for your email. I'm currently out of the office and will respond to your message when I return during our standard business hours. AuditClub can currently serve multiple CPA firms and organizations across the United States. We provide shared or private access to solutions for our members during our standard business hours. that are generally occur between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in applicable time zones of the requested Audit Club person, Monday through Thursday. So this isn't just Chris saying, hey, I'm going to say this stuff. It's going to sound cool and no one will really know if we do it or not. No, it's in your email that clients get,
Yes.
which I think is huge as a service provider and also as someone that purchases services. I think so many times we just assume, hey, this person is available to me 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or whatever hours we have a need. We've evolved into a society where we expect an answer immediately. But I think if you begin to manage expectations, I think one of two things happens, maybe three. One is the client says, okay, not a problem. I'll deal with it next week when he gets back to me. Or they look at it like I did and go, you know what? That is really cool. I like that. Or maybe three, they get upset that they can't reach you. I think that third one is a very small percentage of the population today. What's been the feedback from that simple little step that you guys do from your clients?
Yeah, John, it's about establishing boundaries, right? And again, anybody that's out there trying to lead a different firm, I think what we've grown accustomed to is just the fact that we don't set boundaries. And we as professional service providers have really kind of dug our own grave and set the expectation that we're always on call and on demand. And I think what we're just trying to say is, look, we want to work a certain way at Audit Club. If that doesn't work for you, then you're not the right member for us, and that's okay, right? That's that concierge approach to where we don't always feel beholden to service every single member every single day, nor should we. It's been for the most part, a non-issue with most of our members. They don't necessarily care, and they generally are supportive of it. And we haven't had any crisis moments where we actually had to be responsive. Now, that being said, we do have a concept at Audit Club that we refer to as emergency access that members can pull periodically, where we may end up actually providing a response and or a solution on a day when we're contractually not obligated to. And that's just simply as a matter of goodwill. But we always preface even those emails saying, it is not our normal practice to respond this particular day, but given our relationship with you, we value the membership. We obviously wanted to be responsive because you had a critical need. And so at least we'll give them a heads up saying this is why we're not responding.
Yeah, I just think that, again, we live in a society where we've become trained. I guess we've trained ourselves, for lack of a better way to put it. We send a text message, we want immediate response. We send an email, we get an immediate response. And when those things don't happen, we feel like something's wrong. Either I've done something wrong, they've done something wrong. Why haven't they gotten back to me? And I think that managing processes like this makes it very clear that, hey, our people have a life away from here and we're going to protect that and take care of that. And I think that that's huge because that's not stereotypically what's going to happen at firms down the street.
No, and again, it's anybody that's out there starting a firm, you basically get to start with a blank slate. You don't have to be wedded to the past practices of your prior firms that perhaps you worked with, right? This is your chance to create what you value. And I think that's what we've done is, yes, we're trying to support our members the best we know how, but we also believe we have to support our people the best we know how. And part of that is our commitment to that 4-day year-round work week, where we know that it's in their best interest to be able to be refreshed and recharged, and that the value to them of that Friday is so critically important, and it gets them set up for another week. It's very similar to like in software development where they run sprints, right, in a given month. Well, in my mind, we run a sprint Monday through Thursday with our employees, and now they need to go recharge so that they come back re-energized to start a brand new sprint on the following Monday.
Absolutely. I think that there's a point of capacity mentally that we all deal with that you just can't give anymore. To me, that begs a question coming out of a big four firm where you spent a large part of your career, the preponderance of your career, and then, the last few years in a traditional firm, you were in, again, a large regional firm. At what point in that process did it kind of click for you that, man, forget me.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable for the people.
Yeah, I think I always knew that inherently about public accounting. I mean, experiencing it was, I remember literally sleeping at a client site until 4:30 in the morning, going out to my pickup truck and sleeping in the bed of the pickup truck for an hour And then my senior at the time said, hey, he's out there in the parking lot. Let's go to IHOP and get breakfast in the morning and then go back out in a half hour. And I was wearing the exact same clothes. I didn't go home. Right? I was like, this is not right. And luckily I had different opportunities to experience different aspects of, Big Four culture outside of client service, which I think helped maybe elongate my career at PwC when I was there. But, even for me at the regional firm, as the partner and director of quality control, everybody came to me with just literally a request after a request after a request. And the funny thing is this is where it dawned on me. They all thought they were priority number one, right? And it's kind of like the post office. You go there and you take a ticket. Well, what number are you, right? How do we, and I know that's a bad example, but that's the reality of like how we should operate. People should know where they are in line at the end of the day. And my own family, like we love going to Disneyland, and that actually gives me some inspiration when I go to these theme parks or even just understand how a consumer buys things these days. Like it has to be easy and it has to be simple, but you let your customers decide, do they want to pay a premium for additional privileges? If I want to get a fast pass and spend $100 so that I can guarantee myself a spot in line, front of the line or near close to the front of the line without having to necessarily wait for 2 hours to get on a ride, I make that decision, whether that's important enough to me as a customer. Yep. And I'll do it because I enjoy the experience of not having to wait in line. It's the same concept here is where do you want to be at from a membership perspective? And you decide the privileges that you think are important that you value. And if you think those are valuable, you're going to pay the premium for those.
Yep, absolutely.
But if you decide not to opt into those, don't complain to us when now, again, you're sitting in the lavatory and wondering why am I sitting in the plane smells this way. Right?
There's so much truth to that. And I had a long discussion this past week with a potential new client on our talent acquisition side of things. And we've got a couple of different pricing models. And one of our pricing models is a stereotypical contingency recruiting arrangement. Now, our pricing is in reverse. That model costs you more money, but there's no skin in the game for you either until we fill the job. Mm-hmm. But as I was explaining to that client, the way we work our contingency jobs is they kind of all go in a pile. And if we stumble across a candidate while we're working on stuff where clients have committed to us that they're going to work with us through investment of dollars up front, if we stumble across candidates that don't fit those jobs, then we will gladly put them on this role. And they didn't understand the concept of, like you're talking about. Do you want to wait in line or do you want to get to the front of the line where you get immediate service? And there's sometimes a premium to that. And there are people that are willing to pay that. There are people that are willing to say, you know what, I want to be able to have access immediately. I want to get this problem solved. And there are other people that will say, you know what, it's okay. I don't need it to be today.
Yep.
Putting that on their plate and giving them that option, I think is a significant switch in the way that we've always operated businesses, especially in the accounting space.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think, and this goes back to my PwC days, even though you had marquee clients, for 9 times out of 10, they were all treated the same. Mm-hmm. And they all thought they were client number one, when the reality was they weren't client number one. It's just that no one actually told them where they stood in line and what type of premium they were paying for the privileges they were or weren't getting.
Mm-hmm.
So now we put the power in our members' hands to make that decision for themselves. Of what do they value at the end of the day? They're still going to get the same access to the services, and the solutions will still be top notch and high quality. But they just decide, again, where do they prioritize in terms of that membership experience?
Yep. And that's, I think, a significant change in versus what the model has been year over year over year over year. When you look at the deployment of your people, and you're sitting in California, correct?
That's right.
But your team members, your associates, are deployed all over the country, correct?
That's correct.
How have you guys been able to build the environment, the culture, what I refer to as connective tissue that exists within an organization? How have you been able to do that in a remote environment? Because there are those out there still that, whether it's hybrid or fully in the office, there are people out there that sit there and still say it can't be done.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, and how have you guys done that?
Yeah, and I think I'd be lying if I said every firm and company was perfect, and we have our shortcomings without a doubt. But it's also the inherent drive to want to improve the experience for our people. From a remote perspective, it actually works to our advantage to have people in multiple time zones because we support CPA firms across the country that are in different time zones. But we have made a deliberate commitment to our people that we gather at least semi-annually for a week long of meetings, wherever that may be, whether it's in California or some other state. And part of that meeting aspect is just the bonding and the culture, that's experiencing the culture side of it and ultimately getting together and getting to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing we did is we actually recently reimagined our bonus compensation strategy and pivoted to more of these concepts of monthly achievements that each of our employee basically signs up for. Now, if they do what we ask them to do, and we provide kind of some scripts in terms of what we expect, but one of those is a health and happiness captain. One of those is a social and community captain. And their job in that given month is to go identify a social and or community activity that our team can do in a given month. Okay. And it's a bonusable activity for them. So they put their heart and soul into that. They have a vested interest in it. We'll have one in early October for our entire team to contribute and partake in, even though it's a remote culture. So I think you have to ultimately, you can have the idea at the top level, but you have to empower your people to help make the culture for you as well. And that's a little bit different too, because too often it becomes, what does the company want? What does the CEO and the president want? And not what the employees want. Now there's a give and take there, but your people should have a say in terms of how the direction and strategy of the firm goes. And that's what we're trying to do, is give our people the power to ultimately contribute to things that are impactful for AuditClub as an organization, even outside just the membership experience.
So give me an example of kind of what you're talking about with, the bonusable activity or event. Give me an example of kind of what you're talking about and how that would be dealt with or managed.
Yeah, and everything. I think, John, if you haven't known me too long, but everything we do has an intentionality to it. And it's definitely meant to go against the grain, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's, we only use Apple products in AuditClub. And that, again, goes against the grain, and it goes against anything any other CPA firm probably does. But we do it because we dare to be different at the end of the day. Now, what I always irked me, when this goes back to PwC, was like, all right, the bonus is basically up to 10% of your base compensation. And then you have no idea exactly how your bonus is calculated, nor how you earned it or what amount you're getting. It's just kind of like, here it is. Okay, fine. It falls within this range. What it didn't do was it didn't drive performance out of people, right? No one really necessarily said, oh, I've got to do this to get to this bonus level, because they didn't understand the connection.
There was no management through the pocketbook.
Exactly. So we've said, look, you have your core compensation, which is your base compensation. We've given complete transparency around that to how people understand exactly how that's calculated and where they can go from here. The other part of it is kind of this AuditClub Plus compensation, which is all these monthly achievements. And they basically pick 3 monthly achievements. So it could be things like, hey, I want somebody to be our technical captain and look for some new technological innovations that our firm can develop and introduce. Okay. Go research that, go present it to us. And at the end of the day, at the end of the month, if we find that you've done a really good job on this and you've delivered a solution to us internally, we will give you an immediate cash payout through a partnership we have with another software provider. That goes onto a card that they can then take and go spend. And every time they spend it, they go, wow, I earned this for doing this particular task at AuditClub.
Okay.
Now, on top of that, at the end of the year, we look at our company overall and we say that immediate payout, whatever that dollar amount was, we then apply a multiplier to it based on our company's performance and achieving our company goals. So there's an inherent individual aspect to it, but also a connection to the broader company as well. So they're constantly trying to make these achievements because they know if we collectively fire off on all these achievements each month, our company results should speak for themselves, and they should have ultimately a bigger multiplier applied to these individual payments. So again, just totally doing it differently, but giving them a clear understanding of how they're actually going to be compensated from that perspective. And if they want to leave money on the table because they didn't do it, that's their choice again.
Yeah. It's, again, you're putting the onus, if you will, on them, like you do with your club members. I think that, consistently when I talk to clients about issues they're having with retention or attraction, turnover, when we start talking about compensation and we start talking about bonus, the number one issue that I see, it's not that maybe they don't have a bonus. The issue is either one, it's not quantifiable at all,
Yep.
or it is so stinking hard to understand. In either of those circumstances, there's no motivation, as you're talking about, for people to perform any particular way.
Yeah. And so the other part of it, yeah, we've got monthly achievements, which are the bigger part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have 3 weekly achievements that are paying out at a smaller dollar amount that they can do. Again, they're deliberately connected back to what we're trying to achieve. So as an example, one is, hey, just engage with our social media post on LinkedIn. If you actually invite 5 people a week to your network on LinkedIn, invite them to follow AuditClub, and you like and repost our post, we'll give you X dollars on your card.
Oh, wow.
And you say, I completed the achievement, you show the thing, and we award you the money right then and there. Okay. If you go out to a member and get them to review you and leave a Google review and or an actual internal review for your performance, we'll give you money for that. Because all these things will help us fire and be a better provider to our customers and our members. So again, very strategic goals that are aligned to the company, but give them an understanding of exactly how they can achieve these things and how they get compensated more.
I've got a client that we work with here in the Dallas area that has, kind of like you guys, they have a monthly bonus for their employees that are driven by some specific activities. They have quarterly bonuses. On the tax side of their business, they have a bonus that's paid out, at the end of the April 15th and October 15th deadline. They have bonuses that are paid out semi-annually. Then they have an annual bonus. But all of those are tied together, easily manageable, quantifiable, can see, touch, feel. Their people know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
They have very little issue with turnover, very little issue with retention. And the bonus, it's not huge dollars. There's some opportunity for some pretty significant bonus, on some different things that they do. But in the grand scheme of things, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7 to 9% of base compensation across the board. Across the board. But if you start looking at somebody making, let's just say easy math, $100,000, you're looking at $7,000 to $9,000 in additional comp this year. That's not chump change. It's just not.
Yeah.
And that's going to motivate people to give a little bit more, do a little bit more, if they can touch it, feel it, see it, and understand how it's calculated.
And we can see it, and we see it real time every single day through the software platform. So we know exactly where people are on these weekly and monthly achievements.
So when you look at the employee side of things, how are you guys addressing, just like everybody else, the issue of not enough people, not enough resources, attraction, retention? What are you guys doing to bring people on and show them, hey, there's an opportunity here that's unique, that's different versus PwC, Deloitte, Moss Adams, Baker Tilly?
Yeah, I think we lay it all out there, right? We're pretty transparent in our interview process in terms of what we offer, and we hope it's differentiated in terms of our comparisons to other offers out there. We tell them up front, at the end of the day, we are not a PwC, we're not an EY, we're not a Baker Tilly. And you have to have an entrepreneurial spirit to want to be a part of AuditClub, and that's critically important. And you have to be connected to the mission. So those are kind of, just bare bones starters for us. We haven't necessarily had a problem attracting talent because a lot of them are obviously, they're going, what's AuditClub? What's this 4-day work week? Is this really true? I've seen some of the Reddit threads that say, anybody know about AuditClub? What's the deal with it? Is it too good to be true? Well, just come talk to us and you'll find out for yourself, right? We have people that are living and breathing this every single day. And one person I think said it best to me. He's like, if you can get enough critical mass with this concept, you may eventually become basically you're an insurance policy for these associates, seniors, and managers that have historically been, for lack of a better term, abused by a big 4 or top 10 firm.
Yep.
Right? We're saying 4-day work week, and we honestly, we don't put an hours number out there because, again, we're solutions focused. So just like we don't report billable hours to clients, we don't do billable hours. We want our people to think the same way. If you think you've done enough this week, and we have weekly performance reports that they fill out and we rate them on. Every week they know exactly where they're at, okay? If you think you've done a good job this week, I don't care if you've worked 20 hours, if you work 40 hours, or maybe, heaven forbid, you put in a 45-hour work week, okay? It's still nothing in comparison to what to the big 4 and top 10 firms. So I think on its own, we can stand the test. And ultimately, we speak for ourselves in terms of what we've been able to do for our employees. But thus far, we've had 0% voluntary turnover. We've had 100% acceptance rate on all offers we put out there. So we're doing something right,
Yep.
even in spite of how small we may be at this point.
Is there a target that you guys are looking at over the next 12, 24, 36 months from a growth standpoint of headcount or people?
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you, we have already surpassed probably 75% of the CPA firms that are out there and been doing it for 10 or more years based on the management and accounting practice survey. And we've done it in a year, basically.
Wow.
So we are already outperforming those firms. So if we continue at this trajectory, again, we're cautiously in terms of, how we're approaching growth and stuff. We have some exciting things in the hopper in terms of opportunities to expand what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is all strategically calculated and very deliberate. And it will never, ever put the member experience in a bad position, and nor will it put the employee experience in a bad position. Those things always have to center us and ground us in that overarching mission of trying to make accounting and auditing better. If we are deviating from any of those, then we're doing the growth the wrong way.
I like that, because the focus isn't on numbers. The focus isn't on revenue. The focus is on delivering an exceptional product and an exceptional experience. And I agree with you. If you continue to do that, everything else will fall into place and take care of itself.
Absolutely. And we've actually strategically said we're going to take a haircut on revenue trajectory this year because we feel like we need to support our lower level employees more so on a day-to-day basis. And so we need to equip them with the coaching and the guidance and stuff like that. Well, that naturally takes time away from my ability and my other ability to service members. And that's okay at the end of the day, because we want to be able to make sure our people at the lower levels can excel in their performance. So we take an intentional haircut on the revenue, but that's in the best interest of the company as well as the members at the end of the day.
You touched on some of the intangible mindset pieces that you look for in people: entrepreneurial spirit, somebody that can buy into the mission. But when you look at the technical aspect of, hey, we're going to grow, we're going to add butts and seats over the next 6, 12, 18 months, what does the technical background look like? If there's someone out there that's listening that's thinking, hey, this might be a place for me, what does the technical aspect of that person's background stereotypically look like for you guys?
Yeah, usually it's somebody with a manager and or a senior associate coming out of the big four and or top 10 firms that has both a mix of public and private company auditing and assurance experience. Most of the skills are transferable, but we definitely don't necessarily at that level want somebody to be so specialized. Like, let's say all they know is financial services,
Right.
or all they know is, hey, construction contractors. Our local and regional firms have a breadth of services that they're providing to their clients, whether it's 401k audits, not-for-profit audits, construction audits, even public company audits. So we need to have a little bit more breadth to the people that are coming into AuditClub. That's probably, number one. And then I would say, again, that entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to kind of roll up their sleeves and really leave a mark in terms of where AuditClub ends up being 5 years or 10 years from now. They can help us in that transformation to help us grow from where we are today to where we want to be 5 or 10 years from now. So it is not for everybody, because again, any sort of startup has its issues in terms of how do you work within a startup culture and stuff like that. But hopefully it excites enough people out there to go where they can take their technical skills and say, hey, look, let me be a part and help building a business and something that truly is helping to transform the profession. That's what we're looking for in people. We're not just looking for a person to come in here and basically support our members. There's more to it than that.
Chris, what about the person that, was at your level, around your level, maybe, let's say 10 plus years experience. They were a heavy manager. They're a senior manager, spent a lot of their time in public accounting with a big four firm, top 50 firm. Somewhere along the way, they just realized, this, I can't do this. It's not sustainable. I'm 35, 36, 37 years old. I got 4 kids under the age of 13 years old. I'm working 80 hours a week. Enough is never enough. They leave. They go start their own firm. Maybe they have an employee, maybe they don't, but they're pulling their hair out, starting to realize, hey, there's a little bit more to this animal than I thought there was. Not only do I have to sell, I got to bill people, I got to collect my money, I got to deal with problematic clients, all of the things that go into running a business. Does that person fit into your organization at all if they're just throwing their hands up going, there's got to be a better way than what I was doing and what I am doing?
There is. And again, we see everything we do at AuditClub, there's a mission to it, and it's because it's a problem in our accounting and auditing profession. So most people are able to take their tax skills and actually go out there and hang up their own shingle and support individual income taxes or business tax returns with very little overhead, and can typically be a one-stop shop, right? One shingle spot. Audit is a little bit different because it does require a little bit more of a leverage model. It requires a lot more infrastructure. It requires a lot more expertise in terms of being able to support the audit engagements that are out there. So we did actually launch a concept called AuditClub 1 back in March. Actually, 3/2/1 was the date we launched it, because it's a launch date. So 3/2/1, March 21st. And Audit Club One is actually designed specifically for that individual you just mentioned, where they can ultimately come into Audit Club and use Audit Club as an infrastructure to help them facilitate basically their own book of business. So whether it's a license model, whether it's a solopreneur concept, whether it's a part-time arrangement, all of that is possible within the confines of Audit Club One. They are the face-to-face relationship with the actual member and or end client that needs audit services. But just like any other CPA firm right now leveraging our infrastructure, that individual also leverages Audit Club to help facilitate their own book of business. So we definitely have a spot for those. We're actively looking to build that piece of the practice as well.
So in a situation like that, do they have the ability to lean on the resources that are within Audit Club for staff, senior level associates to roll the sleeves up and do some of the work while they're dealing with oversight of that or managing the project?
Exactly. They're the face with the end-to-end client, and then they tap into our resources, whether it's our career chiefs. They subscribe to our passes. They're basically, in effect, an A-list member, so they're always getting priority with any passes they want. So they know that they're guarded. And also from a technical perspective, they're getting our chief auditors are ultimately providing either an engagement quality control review or a financial statement review before it goes out the door to give them peace of mind knowing that they're not at this alone, right? And there's just too much in audit where people go, I have no idea whether I actually did something right. I need to tap into others. And that's the beauty of the network here, is that they actually are insulated from both the professional risk as well as the financial risk.
It's a nice setup. So you guys literally deal with end-to-end audit, anything that somebody needs, like you're mentioning. It could be support of a big four, top 10 firm with a major public client, all the way down to whether it's a firm with an audit practice or not an audit practice. They need a 401k audit. They need a benefit plan audit. Whatever the case may be, it's a 1 week, 2 week project. Anything in the realm of that, you guys could support.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just comes down to prioritizing the past requests and where they are from a membership perspective. So whether, again, it's sole prop all the way to top 10, whether it's a 401k audit to a public company audit, we have a team assembled that can help these firms in a number of ways. And again, our contracts, the way they're written, they're all encompassing. So if it's in our wheelhouse and we can support you, we will do it for you. And that's just the nature of a concierge approach. So there's no scope creep. There's no, this is out of scope, all that sort of stuff. We throw it out the window, just make it super simple for a firm to get access to the knowledge that they need to help deliver solutions.
I'm sure you guys have thought about this, have looked at this just like everybody else does. When you look at the marketplace, Chris, is there anyone out there that's doing anything close to what it is that you guys are stepping into? Because after we talked last week and I did some research, I don't see anybody out there stepping in and doing that.
We think we have a really unique position in the marketplace, and we think we've really done a nice job of differentiating ourselves and building a brand up in relatively short order. There are offshoring outfits out there that either it's South Africa or it's Buenos Aires, wherever it might be.
Yes.
But most of them don't operate the way we do, right? They're more of a talent agency where they're looking, hey, here's a few candidates, you interview them and then slot them into your team for a few weeks and then come back to us. We are all about building a relationship to where a CPA firm now has in their back pocket access to an entire team from partners to associates that they can call on demand with the flexibility they need to help drive solutions. Now, there is a little bit of a premium pricing to that concept because, again, it's peace of mind and convenience. But again, they are the ones that decide whether that works for them or not. So I think from a competitive landscape, there's the Peros of the world, Sapros of the world are the ones that come to mind. But I don't necessarily think they fit what we're doing in terms of the breadth, the expertise, and the quality within which we're able to deliver it.
Well, I think you're right. There's definitely offshore options. Those have some nuances that you have to work through and figure out. But I would think that there would be value to me as a firm owner, whether I'm a solopreneur or a 25-person firm. It seems to me there would be some value in the fact that right now, if those issues come up with my clients, stereotypically, I'm a tax advisory CAS firm. If those issues come up with my clients right now, I'm probably farming that out to another CPA firm that not only does audit work, but also does tax, client accounting, advisory work.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's probably some knowledge of who they're referring that business to. There's probably a relationship, but still the ability to maintain the control of what's being done with my customer to me would have a significant level of value when I'm turning that over to you guys or bringing you in to take care of that issue for my customer.
Absolutely. And again, this goes recently we launched a concept called AuditClub Ally, which is designed to actually be a strategic relationship with certain tax and CAS type accounting firms. Think of them as the non-attest firms that they actually can't issue assurance and attest reports because they don't have that CPA license designation.
Mm-hmm.
So their only option, like you said, is to throw it over the street to their friendly CPA neighbor that now ultimately may come and say, well, actually, your tax clients look pretty attractive. Let me go ahead and steal those from you while you also give me this audit business, right? So that's the fear that a lot of these firms have. And so AuditClub Ally presents them an opportunity where they can feed things into the AuditClub network that can get serviced through AuditClub One, right? And ultimately, the client gets what they want, and they're still able to maintain the relationship with their existing bookkeeping CAS type tax firm. So it's a win-win for everybody at the end of the day, and there are some rewards built into that. But that's just another way to give people options in terms of how they solve for the current problems that are out there.
And those problems aren't going to go away anytime soon at all. So I would see that you guys have got a recurring opportunity to be able to build a business with current firm owners, with future firm owners that are trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I provide solutions?
Yeah.
I want to thank you for spending some time with us here on the CPA Life podcast, Chris. As we wrap up, if there are firm leaders out there that are interested in learning more about how you can support their needs, or if there are audit professionals listening that are kind of intrigued going, hey, this may be an option that I had no idea about with AuditClub, what's the best way for people to reach out and talk to you?
Yeah, go ahead and auditclub.cpa, AuditClub.cpa is the website. We have a career page out there that you can peruse at your convenience. Obviously, there's a contact information on the website as well, where you can schedule a meeting to talk with any of us at AuditClub. And ultimately, we'd love to understand what you're trying to do and would love to see if we can be a part of helping you solve for those things.
Well, again, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. You've got a nice niche that you guys are continuing to build in. I wish you continued luck in what you're doing.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the time and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for investing a little bit of your time with us here today to learn more about what leaders like Chris Vanover and his team at AuditClub are doing to address many of the issues that are facing the public accounting industry today. Now, make sure that you don't miss any future episodes. Subscribe to our podcast on the platform of your choice, and that way you can join us next time as we explore a little bit more of what the world of CPA life looks like. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app, leave a 5-star rating, and visit our website for links and show notes at CPALifepodcast.com. We'll see you next time on CPA Life. ProfessionalProductions.net